New day, new town. Here we are in the motel at Kamloops. You can see it's early morning and I got a special treat today. You'll see what I'm talking about shortly. Check it out.
So I've just had breakfast at my accommodation here. It's just a relatively inexpensive motel. I got in late last night and the motel is right along the Trans Highway here. You see this busy road here which runs right through the town of Kamloops. And it's pretty spectacular scenery over here. You can see big hills on the other side of the road, just there. This looks like very nondescript from the outside, but let's go and see who we can find and meet over here. Dustin Adams, founder of We Are One Composites.
Yeah.
So Dustin, I'm here with him. Finally get the chance to meet him. And tell us, where are we and what's been happening?
This is the original home base for We Are One Composites.
Yep.
We're just starting our Monday, so it's early. I got bags under my eyes. I rode to work. I'm tired. My first coffee, but here to show you around our small little shop that we started and
Awesome.
Talk a bit about our exciting new move to our new location.
Oh, okay. So when are you guys moving actually?
We're moving, well, I'd love to put a date on it, but we're probably going to be out by the end of this year. So
okay.
I'm got September marked right now, but it's pretty busy still, and I think we're going to probably end up heading out closer into November.
I heard a couple of months ago that you guys actually increased your production. Is that done like just through here, but you find that it's time to probably move to a bigger place to get that?
Yeah, exactly.
Sorted?
I mean, we've got 17, 18 people now in this little building. It's 2,500 square feet on the bottom, and we might win another 1,000 upstairs. So 3,500 square feet for 18 people in a manufacturing production facility is pretty tight.
Yep.
And then we run a night shift as well. So our night shift is where we doubled our capacity, and that shift's quite a bit smaller. Only have 5 guys on that. So yeah. And so now we're moving to somewhere where we can try and amalgamate everybody into one shift.
Awesome.
Double production in the day shift, and then add another evening shift to get up even more. So this is, well, walking in where we walk into kind of a, we do what we can with workflow, but we start in our layup room. We have all of our carbon fiber inside of there. We keep it pretty cool in there, temperature controlled. It's also a filtered room as best we can. We do have to come in and out quite often. Our new room will be a little bit better, and it'll be a pass-through instead of walking in and out with the molds. So that's where everything begins, and take you inside of here.
Yep, sure.
I'll show you this. So in here is where the prelay or the CNC cutter happens with all the fibers. So we'll cut all our unidirectional and woven fiber into our kits. And then with our kits, the guys will make a production list for the day, and they'll pull a kit from, say, like here's a Strife 2.9, so we have like a pre-assembled, pre-packaged rim we do every day for the guys for the next day. So we're working one day in advance right now, so you know the carbon's really fresh. And that there becomes a rim. So they'll take that, they'll follow the layup schedule, and they'll place it into the molds here. Like Tyler and Jill are doing, and that's how a rim is put in. We talk a lot about how our molding is more like really precise, and we use the mold that goes into the oven that bakes off the product at the end of the day. And the reason we do that is just the layup accuracy, where we're able to put the fiber. We have really minimal fiber drift, which gives the part a really nice finished quality.
I see.
Not really the most exciting thing to watch, because it's kind of like watching paint dry, but it happens here.
It is like baking a cake, right, in many ways.
Yeah, you've got ingredients that come together. Someone puts it all together, and there's altogether there's there's 2 prelay, 3 prelay people, 5 layup people. So 1-2 people, and then a demold person, and then a drilling person. Before a rim's ready to sell. So it goes through 4 different hands along the way to become an actual finished product. So this is our small little expansion that we added on the beginning of this year to double production for the rims during the day. And then come out here, you can see from here we have I guess it'd be where we put the molds together and take them apart.
Okay.
This is a big long bench that we use to assemble the molds, get them ready to go into the oven, and then once they come out of the oven and they're cooled, we'll pop them back up there, take them apart, and you can see all the molds down below, just kind of sitting there ready to go. That's a lot of our models in multiple different variations and whatnot and sizes. So it's 2.7, 2.9, 2.6, all the different widths and stuff that we do.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right, cool.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Then it's brought over here, and this little area here is a bit cramped, and this is one of the this is the one that really bugs me, is just how tight it is in here. We've got a Haas CNC machine. We've got all of our machining.
So that's a CNC machine over there.
Yeah. So that does
and which
all
one?
of our tooling.
Which one is the oven, like the big oven?
This guy right here. Yeah. So inside of there is where everything gets baked off, pressurized, and put in to cure. So it's a curing oven.
Yep.
And we've got another one of those coming. We're gonna do a double oven, and kind of we're finding that's our biggest bottleneck right now. But once we get the second oven in place in the new location, then we'll be able to really take advantage of some of the time.
So you're looking at 2 ovens at the new place?
Yeah, 2, possibly even 3.
Okay.
Just because of future expansion, I think it'd be nice to future-proof it earlier on, and then wait for a delay and then have it happen. An oven at the end of the day isn't the most expensive thing in the world, but I want to make sure that we're not sitting there waiting, months on end. If we have a big push for some product, we're able to take advantage of it.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's the tight little area, and our new shop we have a dedicated machine shop that's sealed off, so the machine operates in its own location with all of the machining and the tooling that we make here. So we do all of our own tooling. Here's a bar mold I can show you. So we're on to our second bar mold now, so that's our production
these are the bars.
Yeah, the bar, that's right. So
fantastic.
Yeah, so that's a kind of a beginning of that product line, and then adding more to that as we go. I think we're working on next on engineering a 35 mil rise, and then getting into a 5 after that. So we'll have a full lineup of bars. But yeah, this is what the machinist does.
So currently you're using the bars that you have a 20 mil rise, right?
20, that's right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I understand that since 2018, like last year, like the company has spent a substantial amount of time and energy to bring the handlebar and stem combo concept to reality. So what's your current thoughts about the project now as it stands, and especially now that it's finally on the market?
Yeah, I mean, it's there's a lot that goes into a lot more than I thought on the outset of what goes into making a carbon bar. We've got our first thing we did was built our own test rig, so we're able to kind of replicate and get a sense of where everybody else was in the industry.
So that's a test rig over there?
Yeah, so this is where we kind of started we kicked off the whole program here. So we automated basically 2 air cylinders with load cells, actuators and solenoids and whatnot to be able to gain how much stiffness there is based on a testing regime that we came up with for each bar, so that they were tested in the same manner.
Did you of course, I'm assuming you brought in some competitors just to check out? Just
to get an idea of where they are, what they are, and then, I mean, you get feedback from consumers on those products, and they tell you, what they think about it, and there's a varying degree of different results that those people feel, and it's really tough to narrow down based on, a sampling of around 50, 60 riders if they have the same bar, how many different types of responses you have. So we needed to take the data, extrapolate it for actually what is the stiffness across 3 to 4 bars from that company. So we would gain the stiffness, then we would gain full yield, like how much it would take to break it, and then we would kind of reverse engineer our bar and kind of insert ourselves in the market where we wanted to be with the carbon layout.
So those are the molds. So have you any examples of completed bars available?
Sure. There's a whole bunch here. So there's a whole bunch upstairs. I can kind of show you this is Monday. It's all a little bit messy here, so excuse me on this. So there's a finished bar there. Wow. So this one just came out of the mold last week, and we're just kind of working on it. So the bar was it's 77 Designs, a German company, Giacomo. He came to us last year wanting to make a bar and a stem package, and I said, well, let's do a collaboration, and he came up with the design. The original design had the sleeve, but I didn't like how it was just kind of free floating.
Yeah.
It's a really great idea to have a metal sleeve over top with the carbon and protect it. You maximize the amount of surface area for clamping and whatnot, so you don't have to clamp so hard to make it not rotate.
Yes.
Which then de-stress fibers and stuff like that. But
so this is the latest iteration.
Yeah,
of now?
yeah. So I came up with the idea to come up with this carbon nipple that we cut out of the metal sleeve that actually locks and centers the actual sleeve itself.
Yeah.
And that way you're not so reliant on, like, you know, fumbling about with the bar and getting it in place. We can put the sleeve on, you know, exactly center. It's really, really easy to find center on your bar, and it gives a nice smooth rotation for when you're adjusting your angles for your bar.
And as for like the North American market, I understand that the stem as well, which goes together with the bar, you also machine in-house at the moment?
Yeah, so this is that's an anodization failure. Not everything comes out perfect, unfortunately.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So we got that back from Anno. It looks like, I don't know, maybe it arced out somewhere during the thing, but so yeah, that's a stem that we manufacture here. I mean, there's some blanks down here. There's what we actually use for blanks. So
these are the blocks of alloy, right?
Yeah, so that comes out from that. It's a 2.5 by 2 inch T7000 or 7050, but it's a special temper.
Yep.
7000 series. So that becomes that.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah. So
fantastic.
Finished part there. There's it's all single molded in our machine that we do a bunch of different operations on it, but altogether there's 6 different operations to make that one piece. We ream all of our holes, so all of our holes are perfectly round. Nothing's machined on the actual tolerances that we want it to be really tight, so you'll find this the stem is really, really precise in comparison, and plus it's solid 86 grams for the 45 and 80 grams for the 35 mil.
Yeah, that's really, really compact and really
yeah.
It looks sleek, you know, but it looks like it could take a beating as well.
Yeah, it's actually ridiculously strong. Like for the weight, you know, some of our competitors here in North America that are making stems, their weight's more than half the weight. Yeah. And this will pass. This has passed a downhill test that German engineering company called EFBE has put together.
Yeah.
So the bar and the stem are rated together to pass downhill standard.
So when you start making bars with higher rises, I'm just thinking, how will you get a higher rise bar through this kind of stem assembly?
It's all been designed to have it all arc through. So that's all Giacomo's design. But yeah, as the 35 comes in, it will have more room to come in and out for sure. So yeah, it's a unique design, but I mean, to have 2 small clamps is ideal, especially with 1 bolt. You use so much less force here. We only need 4.5 Newton meters here to clamp a bar, and it ain't going anywhere. So it's a lot less stress on the whole system.
As for the sleeve idea down there, that's not happening anymore? Or
oh yeah, no, it's just not here. I have it upstairs for sure. Yeah, so the metal sleeve is there, and you can put it all together. And so it's 3 parts that assemble, and then we have 4 titanium bolts that go into the stem, and that's your package.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
which is
awesome.
Everybody wonders why they call it package, and you gotta be from Eastern Canada. It's the Maritimes where Newfoundland and whatnot. That's where it comes from. We got a bunch of Newfies that work here, and it's pronounced da package or da bar and da stem.
Da bar.
So that's how they talk over there. So yeah. So that's where it's from. Yeah.
That looks pretty sweet, man.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. I mean, you got really cool details for cut lines in there.
That's awesome. That
was machined into the mold, so they're just really subtle marks. So we went with zero branding on it.
Yep.
My ethos here was to think that you can ride by a million different people with a really loud labeled bar, and there's no conversation to be had with that person. You know what that is. You know what they're riding. Yep. You're not going to ask them about it because there's no, you know, you already know the story. Where if we went with no branding, it looks unique. People are going to want to know what that is. They're going to want to talk to the person. And my feeling is it connects our customers to our brand, and it lets them tell the story of our brand for them.
Would you say?
Yeah, totally subtle. Yeah.
Great conversation starter as well.
Yeah, exactly. So you know, you can go online nowadays and you can read on all the big outlets what's going on and what people think based on marketing. But at the end of the day, when your consumers are telling people why they love it and whatnot, that's the true test right there.
And when you said in that downtime podcast not so long ago, when you chose to work with 77 Designs and to label the package as under VR1 in North America.
Yep.
What influenced you as an executive to stand by the business model you spoke of in the interview, like where you would prefer to not use like made in Asia product when you build it up?
I think it's not, like, I don't have any problems with made in Asia. There's nothing wrong with made in Asia. I'm a firm believer of there's two different types of businesses in the bike industry. It's either the guys that are really getting their hands dirty and truly understanding the day-to-day processes of the product, and those people are the ones that, if you ask them a question about the challenges or if you ask them a question about their product, they're really going to have a solid, firm understanding of the engineering, the manufacturing, and the product from end to end. And when you send off work drawings over to Asia, there's a big disconnect, I think, from the struggles of what it takes to make a product. It's just easy. I mean, I could have just hopped on an email. I know a bunch of great bar manufacturers in Taiwan and in Asia that could have made this product in a much quicker way, in a much easier way. It would have been less headache, less overhead for me, but I wouldn't be connected to the product. We pour our blood, sweat, and tears into every single one of these things, learning it along the way, and we understand more now than we did in the past. It may not be the best business case as far as are they going to be profitable or whatnot, or where we need to stand, but I think at the end of the day we're proving it to be a valuable business. We are profitable and we have full control, and that's the difference between us and every other brand that's in this segment right now. Is we're in control. We can make changes, we can sway the industry and change the industry really, really quick, where it takes 3 to 6 months lead time. It takes a bunch of headaches back and forth to Asia and whatnot to make a product. I can turn on the mill, fire down shop drawings, come up with a concept, and within 2 to 3 weeks have a ride sample that's ready to go out on the trails, and you're 6 months to a year ahead of your competition. So there's advantages to all of that. That's why we decided to be here. It wasn't that I don't think that there's good quality of parts coming out of Asia at all. I just think that it's better to have control.
Especially given, I would say, the demands of riding in this particular part of the world. So you say, like in BC, where
I mean, it's there's legit riding everywhere, but BC's a great place. It is everybody looks at it as the place to come and try and test your equipment out, and for sure, I mean, we have a very broad range of trails and terrain, and it's a big space, so there's a lot of stuff going on. And we're not an overpopulated country, so we have the luxury of having trails pretty much anywhere in the corner of our province. And there's you just did the Trans BC, and you can see there's some pretty legit trails, right?
Some pretty legit testing grounds, really, and in the conditions, and of course with the depth of talent, I guess, with so many people riding, obviously you get some really good riders who are out here and who live in BC, and they call BC home, and they ride and they race even. I mean, it's coming. There's a bit of after Steve Smith passed away, unfortunately, there was a bit of a lull there. We're kind of wondering, who's going to take on, but the future is coming. We've got some really fast juniors coming up through the ranks in the World Cup, both male and female, and we're set to make our mark here again on the big stage. You can see it based on the terrain, and now the kids really wanting to push for the win. Awesome. So a bit about pro riders, and a bit about kind of like that, I don't know what you called it, I'm not sure if it's a side project or whatever, but what's working with Brett Rheeder to design and create that 26-inch rims for slopestyle wheel builds? How has that demand from slopestyle athletes, with that little arm of mountain biking, how has that changed since he first came aboard?
That's there's been some interest, no doubt, more interest than I thought. I mean, that was a quick passion project just to show how fast we could come to the table for Brett and give him what he needed to, he thought he needed a carbon rim. He was unable to get any more from his current sponsor, and he was unable to accept that, and he wanted to push forth with something. He called me up and said, hey, you know what, I've heard you guys are doing good things. What's the chances of you making this for me
Like
and how fast.
they're specific to the demands of slopestyle riding.
Exactly. So we sat down on the table with him, and he kind of told us his weight target of what he would like to see.
Yeah.
We put our spin on things and really increase the lateral stiffness and up the radial stiffness on that rim more than probably most people would really want to. Yeah. But then we've also put we've oversized the wheel a bit so that we don't have tire blow off issues and stuff like that. We took all of the major possible things that could happen on a slope bike, like a massive over rotation, tire blowing off or whatever, you know, that kind of stuff.
Like big lateral forces.
Yeah, lateral loads, exactly. So we kind of just through everything we knew from previous rims was how to make it that way, and how to make it so that it could take those kinds of loads, and we put it together. And yeah, he had the first ride sample. Let's see, I was on vacation. I went on vacation for 2 weeks. We machined the mold while I was gone. We got back, we made 3 layups. We did some impact testing on it and some radial stiffness testing on it, just to kind of see radial and lateral, see where we're at, and we were pretty confident that we had a good case. So we built up some rims. I think it was 2 weeks before Rotorua for him, and he tested them on an airbag, and I think he went. I want to say he went down to Vancouver and kind of tested them out. And he said he was blown away. He loved them. He loved the way that the lack of the lack of weight could help him spin faster. I mean, that's such a high level. I mean, I couldn't tell, but according to him, he says it makes a big difference when the wheels are spinning and they're a lot lighter, to how quick he can rotate on a bike, and you see what those guys do.
Doing the tricks easier.
Yeah, when you're doing like 1080s and stuff like that, like that melts my mind. I'm sick. I mean, I could stand there and watch it all day, but how they do it, I don't know. But he says that it really, really helps him get his rotations around and able to stick the jumps a lot better. So just
curious, would you have any 26-inch rims at the moment to look at?
Yeah, for sure. I think we got a couple fresh out of the mold, actually.
Oh, okay.
Let's see here.
Sorry, I think my cup of coffee is somewhere.
Right here. Right there.
Thank you. So this is actually quite a rare treat. I'm looking at the 26-inch.
Yeah, so that's it.
Specific to for slope style and dirt jumping.
Yeah. So I mean, I've had 2 customers, two customers now ask for the coup for like their old 2.6 downhill bikes. Had good reports on them. I mean, when you go smaller in a diameter, the carbon tends to get stiffer and stronger. So this is that's it. Yeah, pretty straightforward stuff.
Nice.
So yeah, pretty happy with that. So that took a while with him, and there was a really cool project to come to the table together on, and I think at the end of the day it worked out really well. So I think we've sold only 30 or 40 of them so far. It's not a huge seller, but it does show that there's interest there. I was at first hesitant to do the project because it wasn't really, the ROI wasn't really going to be there. It was more buying legitimacy about like, hey, you know, Brett's on it.
Yeah.
But I also looked at the numbers of, like, you know, with the Pump Track World Championships coming up, you know, it becoming a bigger thing, and then with what Claudio's doing with the Velo Solutions, more kids are going to want to get into that. And you're starting to see some pretty high-end, tricked-out hardtails at 26 out there, and I was like, well, maybe there's a business case.
Yeah.
So for one mold cut, we put it in production. We only make 6 of them a week, and you know, it works pretty good for us. So I'm pretty fortunate to still
be involved directly
on a day-to-day. I enjoy it. I actually really enjoy the work that we do, and I enjoy working here. So
this is where it all gets baked, huh?
Yeah, this is the big oven.
Oh yeah,
the big noisy oven.
So how long are they there for?
So those are cured at in the molds. They're not cured 100% in the mold when we come out, just to quickly turn the tooling. So we do an additional cure there for about 45 minutes, just to get it up to a final 100% stage.
I see.
Yeah. So we'll do all of our drilling and all of our and then once it's all finished and everything's ready to go upstairs, we'll do a final cure so that they get up to where they need to be.
Nice.
Yeah.
So what can you say about the grades of carbon fiber that were previously maybe only available to aerospace or military, but now increasingly available to small manufacturers like you guys?
Well, it's with the explosion of mountain biking in the last 3 to 4 years, and I don't know, to me it seems like it is exploding. I think a lot of the larger companies are saying it's down and slower, but based on the growth we've seen and whatnot, I say it's exploding. So that being said, we've had a lot of really cool niche pre-preg manufacturers that are very interested in taking on some cool stuff. You've seen what the guys at Gorilla Gravity done with thermoplastics and thermoset product like that. That same company has approached us to do some unique kind of possible projects as well. And people are starting to see the volume with a lot of them. It makes sense now and they're willing to go there. Our volume now is at a point where our manufacturer's taking us a lot, like very seriously. They're calling us weekly. They're working on future projections and forecasting. And when we first started, it was really tough to get anything out of them. We were kind of just given what we got, and we were kind of fighting for material more than a few times last year, over the last couple of years. But now it's, you know, sitting there when we need it on demand. And now they're asking us, you know, would you like to try different, you know, these different higher end resins that aren't available, that are very expensive. And it's really tough because with biking, you know, your raw good has to stick fairly reasonable or things can get right out of hand as far as costing goes. Right now I would say our raw good is reasonable. It's not insanely expensive, but the jump to an aerospace resin and a higher degree or higher range of fiber, higher quality fiber, I guess you could say, you could triple your costs overnight. So you got to really be careful what you want, and we're doing testing right now to see if it's viable. You know, if my fiber right now is, you know, $60 to $100 in costs of the rim. If I have to double that, it's going to be like it's going to have to transfer over to the consumer to make it be a business case. But does that mean you make a carbon fiber rim that doesn't ever break? That's what we want to see.
Yeah.
So
I see. So the motto of the company is called "Show Us Your Carbon." So what do you think is what are the characteristics of carbon in a VR1 rim versus what is found in, say, a good alu rim or competitors' carbon rim that might be manufactured in the Far East, let's say?
Ooh.
How would you compare, like?
From the facilities that I toured when I was with other companies and when I was in Asia, there's a big difference in how we go to bat. We try to make what comes out of the mold a finished part. It doesn't need to be addressed or sanded or filled or patched.
That would be like an aesthetic.
Not really. Like some yes. I shouldn't say not really, but some yes. But if your bladder is not up to par and you're unable to achieve a certain pressure within your mold, and you're running and you're cycling really fast, you're going to have voids and you're going to have air pockets. You're going to have issues in the rim, and if you don't scrap that and you try to fix it and put some makeup on it and doctor it to get it to a consumer, it's going to look just fine. It's going to look perfect, but it will perform much less to the same degree as a perfect rim that comes out without any voids and the bladder wasn't interrupted during processing and stuff like that. So I think what we do is if we do make a mistake, those rims never get to our customers. So if a bladder does perforate and there's an aerated part of the mold, we'll actually save those for a lot of our team riders, and people like that will use them. We'll use them for testing and whatnot, but they would never make it to market. So that's one big thing that I think what you get is truly the best product out there.
Yep.
And then our molding, the way we mold in the rim, is something that is starting to catch on. You're seeing a lot of newer companies come out and start to do the exact same thing as us and replicate what we're doing. So I think there's got to be something there to have a lot of them follow a little company like us.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's fantastic. Yeah. So with I know you guys have just recently come up with the Revolution line of rims. And how would you say the Revolution lines are different from, or even an improvement over the movement line, just the previous line?
Yeah, so from the original like Agent and Insider rims, Outlier, we basically learned through laying them up, testing and whatnot, where we could make improvements on the product, where we could ease the manufacturing of the product so that it wasn't so difficult and time consuming. So what our goal was is to produce a rim that had a lower radial stiffness. We've dropped the depth of all of the rims in that line except for even the Revive went down to 19. Now we're down at 21 mil, so we reduced everything by 4 millimeters, which meant we had some fiber excess to play with and put in some key areas. And then we compartmentalized a lot of the layups in those products, so it's more of a homogeneous thickness all the way around the rim, so the rim behaves more like a unique or an individual part than it would be, you know, a rim lip. If it's a deep rim, you have a rim lip way up here and you have a nipple bed way down here, and you know there's thin layers in between and whatnot. Each component of that rim behaves a little bit differently, but now as we brought everything together, close together, everything behaves as one, so they can take more load.
When you say that impact resistance remains like a key point as well, right? Making sure that that's beefed up as well.
Yeah, I mean, impact's always the one thing that I think any manufacturer aims for. The challenge with impact is that you can, to get impact resistance and have the rim not be so stiff that you can't ride it, there's a degree of the recipe there that really needs to be figured out. And I think we figured it out fairly well, but we're still improving all the time on that stuff. We did a big jump from the agent to the new union and stuff like that, all of a new line. That was a big jump in radial reduction and impact increase. But we could still go better, for sure. And
you get, I'm assuming that testing rig over there, the impact testing rig, gets a lot of use when you're going through this phase of refinement.
Yeah, I mean, impact is it's a one way of doing it. I personally like the actual physical riding out there in the trail and taking it through you know, the rocks and trying to break a product while you're riding it, like actually trying to break it.
Like trying different tires, tubes, tire inserts and whatnot.
PSI is your biggest friend when it comes to a carbon rim. I mean, one PSI one way or the other makes a massive difference of how much more that is going to resist from hitting the rim. Tire inserts, we've actually been noticing some really unique stuff with Kona this year on some of their testing that they've been doing, and we found that some inserts actually have been, like, the results have been going worse than better, when we can't really figure out why. If it's like a reduction in air volume isn't as good. Yeah. So we're kind of working with them right now on that, because it's a very interesting kind of thing that we've been brought to the table with them. There are a couple of riders that aren't running inserts and a couple that are, and the couple that are running inserts are the ones that have managed to break rims this year. So we're kind of scratching our head at that one, to be honest with you.
Because the marketing from the standard marketing spiel from a tire insert company is that, oh, this will protect your rim, this will tune your riding, etc., etc.
Yeah,
so improve your ride.
I don't doubt that at all. I do think that there's something there, but if it's sheerly it's going to protect your carbon rim from a sharp or a harsh impact, and it's going to save it, I've yet to have been able to say 100% that that's a good claim. I still think that it's the kind of impact. So how fast you're going, what did you land on? Is it compression, or is it a sharp object that's managed to shear through the fiber and then the whole thing fell behind it? I don't really know.
I see. So when you look at feedback from like the pro riders and the pro teams that the companies support versus ordinary guys, what stands out as being different? What do the pro riders say which is different from what the ordinary?
That's their job, first of all. Their job is to improve product, and their job is to market product, obviously, right? I mean, they're out there doing their job, making you stoked on everything.
But they're riding the bikes as fast as they can possibly.
Yeah, no one's going to doubt that they're at the upper end of how fast you can take a product, and how hard you can ride a product. So it's the pinnacle. It's the kind of the Formula One of product testing. And when you sit down, when there is an issue with one of those guys or girls, they give you very thorough and detailed feedback that you're able to take and go, yeah, this is what we need to address, or this is what we need to work on. Where the end consumer generally is just really bummed out that they broke a product, and we are too. I mean, we get it; it sucks, but they're just bummed out that it broke, and they want to know how fast you can get them a new product. They're not really, you know, in the product development or product improvement realm. They just want to make it so that they can go out and ride again. And that's where, like, you know, when you're working with a pro team, you can sit down with them, hey, we broke this wheel, or hey, we're going to try 5-6 different layups today. We're going to smash through this rock garden and see what happens, kind of deal.
So when you send them, you send the pro teams wheels, do you just send them the rims, or do you send them the completely built wheels?
With Kona, we're doing just the rims, so they have a sponsorship with Chris King, so they run all of King's hubs, and that's cool. We built them all up here. For the most part, we built the beginning of the year, I think we built over 60 wheel sets for them here, and then now they're just getting rim replacements here and there and testing. So I think they've been, let's see, I think they've broken maybe 5 rims this year so far, 5 or 6. Yeah, which is fine. It's all testing stuff that we've done. Our initial downhill layup that we tested with Kona was only 525 grams, which is a full almost 200 grams lighter than our competitor. In the downhill realm on a 2.9er. So we tested that, and they felt that it was on the edge of where they wanted it to be. Everything felt good, but they were a bit concerned that, you know, when it comes to the big tracks like the Fort Williams and the Mount St. Anne's, that we're going to have some issues. So we slowly increased the weight to kind of get it to where they think it's good, and they tested those at Fort William, and we had one pretty bad incident there, but we weren't happy with, and then but we kind of think it was one of those fluke deals. That's where that whole issue.
But that's the point of feedback, right? Any feedback is good feedback.
No, everyone thinks because if you broke a rim, it's like that's a crappy product, but that's not the product that we give to the consumer. That's the product that we're going to get them to test, so that when we give it to the consumer, we go, well, no, it was tested here.
So effectively, the athletes are the guinea pigs, you know, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, you would hate to say the guys hurling themselves down the mountain at speed, and the girls, I guess, that are hurling themselves down the mountain like that are the guinea pigs. But yeah, at the end of the day, they are proving a concept, and they are working with us to better develop a product, and that's their job. I mean, a lot of these people, they may go insanely fast. They're also really smooth riders, and they're, you know, they may go at the highest end of the level, but they might not break stuff, you know. So there's always that thing you have to throw in. So we don't just rely just on Kona. We've got some guys out there that can't seem to ride down the mountain without breaking everything on their bike, including their bike frame. You know, the guys that have been through multiple frames already this year that are. We have one guy in Vancouver that's been through 3 frames in this season and still on the same set of wheels.
Same set of wheels.
So he's breaking frames but not wheels. So, you know, those are the guys that we're like, okay, well, that's, you know, end consumer, real world testing. This guy breaks everything, but he's not breaking wheels. So we try to look for all different avenues to give us the final, this is where we need to be. So like consistency in manufacturing, this is, you're talking about Asian manufacturing versus why we do it here. So there's a list.
These are records.
This is record from our bar. So we cut these bars down, we ship these to Giacomo, and you can see everything, 224, 225, 223, 225, 225, 227. Not one bar.
These are like within like a couple of percentage points of each other, right? Yeah.
Within 1 gram, one way or the other. 1 gram of 25 grams. And that's 70 bars that we ship them. So consistency is everything. Our rims, you know, when you see a manufacturer coming out of like a direct retailer out of Asia where they're saying our rims are plus or minus 15 grams. Well, a double layer, so a full double layer of say a 20 millimeter wide part that goes into the rim, say the nipple bed or something like that. That's 15 grams. If that's missing from the rim, it has a dramatic impact on the overall quality of that product. So our rims are plus or minus 3 to 5 grams maximum, and that's generally resin loss. So yeah, it's that's where it's like I wasn't understanding why plus or minus 15, and then you're looking at the weight of the packages and your weight of the pieces. You're going, well, what? How could you be that far out? Did you miss something? So it's that's That was one of the biggest head scratchers.
That's interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they just keep those records there.
Yeah.
Those are analog records. We also have them logged into our ERP system too. So yeah,
So tell us what goes on with the wheel build, because this is really like where the finished product.
Yeah. So this has grown 3 times in the last 2.5 years. So we started out with just this 20 by 20 space.
Yep.
And it wasn't enough, so we added on that wing over there. That wasn't enough, we just added this on here.
Yep.
So now we're at 3 builders pretty much flat out every day, and we're still struggling to keep up at the moment. And the new facility is just the wheel building department will be twice this size. So we're gonna add 3 more benches to that, and hopefully get our lead times back to the 1 week to 2 week turnaround max. So yeah, looking at some machinery as well to help there. So but yeah, so every single rim here is brought up. We store all of our product in the roof just to kind of save some room. So we got racks of like finished product ready to go. Some of the stuff that we're sitting on stock, we don't sit on a ton of stock. We're pretty much manufacture what we manufacture in a day. I'd say almost 100% right now goes out the door the very next day, so it doesn't sit around very long. But then we have all of our hub stock. So this year we decided to really shrink our offerings down and do what we call a custom run. So we decided to go deep and align ourselves with Industry 9. We think it is a really outstanding hub with a company that really stands behind it and backs it really well. And then we offer a custom build, which then you can guide your Onyxes. You can see some of the old Vesper hubs here. So the Hydra is from I9. Then the new Vespers, we're doing these for people now too, and we'll still do it, but it's a custom order. We don't show it on the website. So
okay,
we have
it's good to know that the option is there for people who really want a particular hub, particular color, and so on.
Yeah, and there's like all the hubs on there, so tagged for orders that we've got going out. So right now we sit on sitting around 150 Hydra hubs, and this is just a fresh order of 200 101 hubs that just came in. I think we're already going to put in a reorder here pretty darn quick. So
yeah,
some remnants from DTs that we've had in the past, and we've moved away from them into something else because it's just it's a big company and it's very difficult to deal with.
and the wheels that go out, some of them obviously go to like dealers, like
yeah, we sell both direct to consumer and to some really reputable dealers. We have some I guess quasi distribution in some really great companies. Singapore, you know, the guys at Unsprung and Reza and whatnot, they're doing a fantastic job with it. We've got a guy in Australia and Philippines, South Korea. We've got guys in the UK and Germany.
Awesome.
So there's kind of dealers here, there, and everywhere, and everything leaves here to there.
So I see the complete wheel sets are coming up, but then at the heart of the business is still rims, like the product itself. So when you have like shipping out the bare rim, and you know that they're going to be hand built by either a dealer's mechanic or even a home wheel builder that's out of HQ.
Yep.
What advice do you have for the home builder or the wheel builder that's out there when they build a wheel that's a VR1 rim?
Yeah, so I think our rims build up extremely well. They're not the most challenging to build. A carbon rim is inherently already radially true, and the spokes will pull it one way or the other. So it's interesting in comparison to an aluminum rim where you got to kind of fight with it to bring it up to tension. It's a lot more challenging to build a really good quality product. The biggest thing we'd say is use the Supreme Polyax nipple with their secure lock. That's the components. And then stay with the same brand of spokes as the brand of nipple we use. So we do use like a lot of Supreme stuff here. Is like, I don't know, looks like about 1 billion spokes. I don't even know how many is there. Each box is 500, so 10,000, 20,000, 40,000. I don't know how many are there, but CX rays, or there's the race is what we use. We have built a lot with D-Lights as well. D-Light's a great spoke from them if you want to go a little bit lighter round spoke. And then the nipple is the key. So with the nipple, a lot of people, I'll show you here. So the Polyax nipple, I don't know if you can catch it on camera, kind of has it's a bulbous shape at the head where the where the carbon contacts the nipple.
Yeah.
So what that allows is for the nipple to kind of articulate instead of kind of sinking in to the hole. So if you think of a carbon rim, it's fairly kind of dished and almost flat in the middle. Ours is almost flat and the nipple bed layout. So if you have a conical shape, that's going to sink into the hole and it's not going to allow it to articulate one way or the other a little bit.
When you're actually doing real world riding, there's some movement.
Yeah, and we'll just bracing angle from when your spoke is coming in, you want the spoke and the nipple to engage on almost the same plane. And if you'll find, sometimes you'll see a nipple that'll be straight and the spoke will be kinked, and it almost bends right at the engagement point from the nipple to the actual spoke line.
Yep.
And that there is where you'll see those premature spokes popping, because those will start to abrade. The nipple's not letting it go and the nipple will kind of hold. This will start to move and it'll kind of start to, almost like a bent wire, it starts to bend and bend and bend and bend, and then before you know it, pop goes the weasel.
Over a few thousand times during a ride.
And we found that during fatigue testing with all the nipples that we wanted to use that were available to us. This was the best one by far. This one gave the best quality end result with the most durability. So we chose to stick with Supreme, and they make with the secure lock, the dimpled nipple. It's a fantastic build. Yeah. So that's the number one thing we think or want people to use. And then after that, it's just ensuring that your tension's equal equal on one side versus the other, and you try and build a radially true wheel as you can get. So it is an art. Wheel building is an art. You see a lot of really good wheel builders out there online that have carved out a niche in business, like Dusty from Hubcest. You know, this guy's doing an amazing job. There's a few good guys in Canada as well doing a good job. Fanatic Bike Co, these guys are killing it online, doing custom wheel builds from pretty much anybody under the sun. So it does take a really keen eye to build it, but it's not to say you can't do it with the right tools, for sure.
Because they are definitely like hobbyists and home enthusiasts out there who would definitely go to town and try to build their own wheel.
Yeah, I mean, you can see we've taken our own Supreme. So we've taken Supreme's spoke tension meter. We find it's a pretty good base, and we've fitted on a $500 Mitutoyo what am I talking about here? Tension meter. It's like there's a word for it, but my mind is, I'm not I'm not saying it right. But yeah, so that's digital. It's a lot more finicky than a standard kind of sprung gauge. A lot more precise, and we fitted every one of those. So I don't think the home wheel builder is going to come up and spend up to $600-700 on a well, that's $200, $275 for that. Plus you upgrade that, it's almost $1,000 Canadian. They're not going to have this. They're going to use probably a Park TM1, which is a reasonable tension meter. If you're using it maybe once or twice, it'll get everything equal. But if it will get it to the actual tension that it's reading is debatable. If you're really going to get down to the nitty gritty of what is a good quality built wheel versus a kind of just an okay built wheel. Yeah. So those are the things that you just weren't going to get at home. It's not to say you can't do it though.
So with regards to like spoke choice and obviously nipple choice, and indeed the spoke bit as well, do you feel that that's the next area of improvement, and things like trying to put the material when you're designing your next rim or whatever?
I mean, it's I think that the amount of like how carbon forms, like how it moves under pressure, under loading, the big thing is going to be when it comes back into its own original state. It comes back fairly violently, and that can be really hard on nipples and whatnot. Nipples and spokes, and you can over time have those kind of start to erode. I think
the spoke bit is really like what I'm talking about, like that part of that rim, which is,
well, the bed won't change. The bed will. The bed once you've. Bed is definitely a structural part of it. I find that if you do like a patching, so like if each nipple has its own little patch, you're losing a lot of the benefits of what the overall strip in there can do for the overall strength of the rim. So we don't choose to go that route, but over time they'll just start to seed in, and I think that what you will find unfortunately, is that spokes become almost like a wear part on a carbon rim, because after about 3 years, I'd say it's probably advantageous to cut all your spokes, replace them all with all fresh new nipples and spokes, and the rim isn't going to be it's not going to be any issues with the rim. So that's something that we're looking at right now. We're 3 years into some wheels. We've got some stuff out there that our guys are, saying, well, I'm up to tension and everything's running good still, but they just can't seem to hold tension and whatnot. And I think what's happened is the rim has moved so much and the spokes are so elastic only to a certain point, and they've stretched them to the point where now it's like, okay, we'll send them back, we'll rebuild them from fresh, and we'll go from there. And you still have a fantastic wheel. It's just a maintenance part.
That's good advice, because my wheel is almost like it's coming to the 2-year mark soon.
Yeah. And if you've adjusted them a bunch, I mean, you gotta think, if you've kept up tension and you've been adjusting them up to that tension mark all the time and staying on top of it, there's a chance. But if you've ridden them and you haven't done anything to them,
even though visually it looks like straight, it could be tension meter might say a different thing.
Could be, but it could also be that they're just a little bit stretched. It could be low on tension, bring it back up a bit, and you'll be away to the races again. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
That's really good advice.
Yeah.
Because when I built, when the rims that you sent me, we built it with a local shop, like local mechanic who's a really good guy. His name is Irvin. The wheel has been holding through. I've sent the wheel back like a couple of times, and he's always said, at least he's told me that, the tension still goes through.
Yeah, it's perfect.
And he's a mechanic who, when he built up my pair of rims, and then he subsequently got more orders from Reza to build more VR1 rims.
Nice.
He went to get a pair of rims himself.
Nice. Yeah. That's awesome. Very cool.
Yeah, that's a really
well,
nice
I know that
story,
most of the builders that do build with them have come back to us and said really, really good things about how well they've built up. Yeah. We've given some product to a few other large manufacturers to have open discussions about potentially getting, manufacturing their product for them. And they all say, their builders are really impressed with what they're building up in comparison to what they have currently. So it's good to get that feedback from good quality builders, letting you know that they're enjoying building the wheels. Yeah.
So we're coming to probably the end of the interview segment, I guess. So I guess maybe just to step back and kind of have a holistic idea of what really goes on here. Always striving for improvement and setting aggressive targets and goals. These ideas embody the VR1 vision, would you say? And what personal quality that is innate within yourself as a person, first of all, and as a leader of the company, that kind of gives you permission to place that kind of demand on yourself, your company, and your career? What do you think? What do you think gives you that?
Well, I think it comes from my days of racing and understanding what it takes to be at the top. It's not easy to come to work and perform every day. It's not easy to ask that of your staff and of your people, and that brings on a whole other list of challenges to run a company the way that you want it to be. And you need to learn to work. Well, I've needed to learn to work within what's acceptable and bring my targets within check. But I still do think, even with me giving a little bit, I can still confidently say that everybody here, when there's an issue, comes to me and says, is this acceptable? Is this not acceptable? And I've put myself in that position, and I've taught them that if something doesn't look right to them, that they can second guess it and either reject it or send it out. And I think if you look around from what's out there, everyone will say it's been a great quality product they've received, from the build quality to the rim quality to the overall ride quality of the product. And I think from my days of racing, understanding how much effort it takes to get there, I think that's where I can draw and harbor a lot of my my knowledge from. Yeah. This is that's what all those rims. So not all of, but a good portion of those rims are the last 2.5 years of production, from development. This row here was the start. This is what it took to make the Agent and the Insider, and a lot of those rims there are we've been sitting at about a 3% scrap rate of rims that we didn't find acceptable to go out the door. So a lot of these things can be fixed and given to team riders and still can run perfectly fine. We're working on looking at getting a lot of these into like bikes for young kids and stuff like that, working with a couple cool initiatives so where we could utilize these to a benefit. You know, they don't need to be the strongest, craziest rim, they just need to be good and round for a young guy to ride and or girl to ride and get out there and have some fun. So we're looking at getting those there, and everyone talks about carbon recycling and whatnot. Like, we don't throw anything away, and we've been looking for recyclers like crazy, and it's one thing that really does bother me about the carbon fiber end of things, especially on a small scale, is this is a laughable amount for a recycler. You know, they'll recycle a complete fuselage of an airplane where they're talking metric tons. I think if we took all of our...
This is just a fraction of that. Right?
I don't even know if we could get 1 ton of, not even close to 1 ton of carbon up there right now. And they won't even think about it until we're at that, you know, couple tons, 3 tons, 4 tons. So we're going to continue to house it until we get to a certain point. And if we're not going to give it to those cool key initiatives, then we'll end up just sending it to the recycler when we get enough. Yeah. So, yeah, and that's a big part of what people don't see in the industry as well. And I think I'm okay with being forward about it and letting people know and become aware of it, because it is something it is important. These aren't finite, you know, resources that just keep on coming. They take a lot out of the earth, and it takes a lot of time and energy to get them. So if we can make them last longer and we can make them recyclable into other products, then that's a good thing for us. A lot of people talk about aluminum, you know, it's no big deal, they can just break an aluminum rim and it becomes another aluminum rim. Well, unfortunately that's not the case. Most of them ends up in a larger scrapyard, and they're used in a much lower grade setting, much to the same degree as carbon chop can be. It can be used in asphalt, it can be used in, you know, other kinds of products where they're going to remold it and reutilize it and use it again. So it's nice to know that there is that option. You just have to get to that point.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's very insightful, man. Thanks very much for showing us around and really having that insider's view of what it takes to make awesome carbon products.
Perfect.
Yeah,
well,
awesome,
thanks for coming by.
Thanks very much for
all the way from Singapore. I'm glad that you had a good trip. Enjoyed your time at BC.
A few moments later.
So that's aluminum, right?
Yeah, so that's the aluminum. You can see it just captures, and then when you pinch it, it holds in place.
And there's a little taper just through there?
Yeah, so the taper is so that when we slide the stem on, you slide it on and it gets over this one, and then it's free floating for a bit, and then it slides on nice and clean.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it just slides in nice and clean. That's why we can't use other stems with it right now. We could you could use any stem with this bar, because it is a 35 mil clamp if we just would remove that taper. But we haven't tested it, so I want to test it. We got this coming without the taper to see if you can just run our bar with anything.
So when will you make that known to the wider public that okay, we can run this bar with a non-branded, I mean with another company's stem?
I think not for a while.
Not for a while, yeah.
I still think that.
But you're pretty confident that eventually that will take place, like.
Yeah. I mean, our stem. I can't see why you wouldn't want to run our stem. That's the thing. It's the biggest advantage. I mean, you've got, if you look at, like I say, a Chromag Ranger, that stem is 182 grams just for the stem. Ours is 80 grams. It's a full 100 grams lighter.
Wow.
So it's like, why wouldn't you run that stem?
Yeah.
It's tested to the highest standard. So you can kind of see they just kind of, watch yourself. It just slides on nice and neat. Like that. Torque, so it's 4.5 Newton meters for the clamp. So for this portion is 4.5 Newton meters here, and I'll torque it to spec there. We torque all of them to spec there, and then the clamp bolts for the steer tube are 6.5. We're working on a really funny video for that right now, that people will then understand what we're trying to say.
Like just playing on that Newfoundland accent.
Exactly. Well, Jordan and Wayne are from Newfoundland.
Yeah.
And we've got like a couple of our team riders that are from Newfoundland.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to find a time when they're all together at one place. and then we've got a great little idea
Awesome.
put together. So you'll see it in the coming weeks or so, maybe a month.
So this is HQ's own CNC custom bar cutter.
Yeah.
It's a solid piece of work right there.
Yeah, we just kind of manipulated a Makita cutter, and then we use a silicon carbide cutting.
Yeah, that's for carbon, for cutting carbon. Yeah.
Well, it's for cutting steel, but we find it's the best to cut carbon with.
Yeah.
You need to abrade carbon more than you need to slice through it, so it abrades it a little bit better than anything else.
Awesome.
Just gotta get it all set up.
Cool.
That's simple. Keep it nice and clean.
750.
Then you need the special limited edition
Oh my goodness.
We Are One bottle cap. So the only branding that we put on it.
Oh man, that is sick.
There you go.
That is pretty awesome, yeah.
So stem cap, just pop that off and clamp it on. And there you go.
Thanks man, I appreciate that.
No problem.
Yeah, this is really cool. Yeah, I'm so appreciative, and again, thanks for showing me around. You know, I definitely want to show what's available here, like what you guys are doing to I guess the people who watch my channel and I guess the wider community in Singapore, because they don't often get a chance to actually see like in depth what goes on in the manufacturing plant.
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of tours here. We're an open door for most people that come by. We've done a lot of tours for a lot of customers over the years, and we still continue to have an open door policy and trusting people that come in and whatnot, and it goes a long way to let people come on over and try things out, so and check it out. And
Thanks Dustin for this little package over here. Da package, I should say.
Package. Take it back home and show the boys and girls, and hopefully they enjoy.
It's been cut down to size.
For sure.
Start a few conversations with it, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks man.
Cool.
Awesome. So that was my visit to the We Are One Composites HQ factory. It was pretty amazing. Like, Dustin's a really cool guy. I really got to see the inside of the facility, get to see how stuff was made. I had a really in-depth talk with him. Came away with some really cool stuff. Socks over there. Yeah, socks. 2 pairs of socks. And the package, which is the bar and stem combo, which is one of the newest products from We Are One Composites. So thanks again, Dustin, and thanks again to the crew at We Are One Composites for making such a fine product. I'll definitely be putting this on and giving you a feedback about how this actually feels on my bike. So till then, see ya.